Me with my longtime friends, I did a huge favor for them, and I feel very unappreciated. I've known Adam, 29M, since the 6th grade, and I met his now wife, Sarah, 25F, when they started dating a few years ago. Sarah and I clicked immediately and became very good friends. She's sweet and has an infectious energy. Adam can be kind of a jerk, but he's one of those old friends that you make excuses for, and he can be very kind at times, of course. I care about both of them very much. Last year, Adam proposed to Sarah, and they decided on a wedding in a friend of a friend's backyard. This type of wedding can be cheaper, but it requires a lot of organization because every single element has to be rented and set up. For people who have never planned an event like this, they were in over their heads almost immediately. My fiancé and I moved to a new city about 8 hours away shortly after their engagement, and I now work full-time as a wedding planner and day of coordinator. At the risk of sounding boastful, and strictly for context, I love my job, and I am very good at it. I'm highly requested, well-reviewed, well-paid, and I run about 10 weddings a month. So when Sarah called me in tears a couple of months ago because she was so overwhelmed and had no idea how her wedding day would run, of course I told her not to worry about it and that I would coordinate it for her. Why wouldn't I? I mean, she would do the same for me, right? Thursday morning, after driving 8 hours, I called and texted Sarah, asking when and where I could help. She answered hours later, saying not to bother showing up until just before the bachelor/bachelorette party. When I got there, she and 2 of her bridesmaids were taking bong hits and chatting. So her maid of honor and I prepared the wedding desserts in the kitchen while Sarah tended to her friends, one of whom was having a horrific acid trip. Friday was setup day, and the mother of the bride literally brought a mobile home full of decor with no plan for where anything would go. I have never seen so much decor for a wedding, and that is saying something. At the rehearsal dinner, Sarah ended up screaming at Adam in front of their families and bridal party about a perceived slight, and I had to play counselor for them. On the wedding day, everyone got there early to set up. It was another long, stressful day of delegating and organizing, but I got it done. It looked gorgeous. One of the prettiest weddings I've ever done. I ran the ceremony, sprinted up hills to control the iPod, set up cocktail hour, moved all the seats from the ceremony to the reception, hooked up all of the lights, poured the champagne for the toasts, sent the tables one at a time to be served by the food truck, everything. Honestly, I felt like Superman. I did an awesome job. 3 couples asked for my rates because they wanted me to run their weddings, and complete strangers gave me such sweet compliments about my professionalism. I was, and am, so proud of how it turned out and grateful for, most of, the bridal party, who worked so hard and followed my directions without a second thought. I am used to bridezillas, and I always let their attitudes roll off my back. Weddings are stressful, and I don't like to judge people based on a stressful event, but I wasn't expecting to be treated so bad by Sarah, who had always been so sweet to me. She stormed up to me several times during the reception to bark orders at me or demand to know when things were happening, sometimes while I was literally instructing someone to do that very thing. She would roll her eyes at me and was very condescending. She held up her own wedding ceremony because she was convinced I was stupid enough to give the bartender the wrong cups and needed to check for herself. She never said thank you until I was leaving at the end of the night. I didn't feel like a friend, I felt like an employee, and not a respected one at that. Other people noticed how she treated me. The best man is one of my oldest friends, and he wanted to march up to Sarah and demand that she apologize to me during the reception, but I asked him not to because I didn't want to start drama at her wedding. Apparently, she and Adam had been getting nastier to everyone over the past 6 months. Eventually, I just shut down and went into work mode. I didn't eat for about 15 hours, I had blisters on most of my toes, and I ran about 13 miles around that event, and she treated me like a lazy piece of crap. She was probably the worst bride I've worked with, and again, that's saying something. Adam, shockingly, was actually very appreciative most of the day until I was leaving. The last thing he said to me was, "I love you so much. We couldn't have done this without you. It was perfect, except you messed up that inconsequential thing that no one noticed." We drove home yesterday, and honestly, I feel like I lost 2 of my best friends. My fiancé, who was by my side the whole time and was the most helpful person during setup, gotta love him so much, is livid. He is so pissed that I did such a huge favor for them and they treated me like that. He doesn't want them invited to our wedding, and I see his point, but I don't want to make a decision until the whole thing calms down a bit. The Mo is equally pissed and texted me the next day to say she also felt taken for granted by Sarah. Sarah and Adam are on their honeymoon this week, and I kind of don't want to talk to them yet. So I come to you, good Redditors. Should I say anything? Wait until they contact me? Wait until the best man rips them a new asshole? Wait for an apology and then reassess their invitation to my wedding? Final update. Hi, everyone. Thanks for all of the advice on my previous post. I love a good update, so here's mine. So, Sarah and Adam's wedding happened in early June? I decided that if I hadn't heard anything by October 1st, I would email Sarah and confront her about her behavior. I wanted to give it a little time so that everyone could cool down. Plus, I've been absolutely swamped with wedding season at work, so I thought 4 months would give her a very gracious amount of time to think things over. Well, lots of stuff has happened, none of which were apologies. I never received a thank you note, a call, a text, or anything. Sarah's maid of honor actually confronted her in August about her behavior toward her, me, and others. Sarah said, "Oh, really? I thought I said thank you. I didn't realize I was acting badly." So she was informed that she was out of line but took no steps to actually make things right. The only time Sarah tried to contact me after the wedding was in August when, unfortunately, my fiancé's sister passed away. It was sudden and bad, and we're heartbroken that she won't be at our own wedding. Sarah texted me about a week after she passed, saying, "I just realized I haven't talked to you since the wedding. I'm sorry about fiancé's sister. If you need to vent, let me know." I'm not sure why she texted me and not my fiancé, but whatever. I said thanks and didn't respond further because I wanted to focus on my fiancé and his family. Adam's best man called me last week. Adam and Sarah are divorcing. Apparently, things started going downhill immediately following the wedding, more fighting, not sleeping in the same bed, etc. Then Sarah lost her job. Then they decided to get a puppy. Then, a few weeks ago, Sarah confronted Adam, basically saying, "I feel like you proposed under pressure, and then when everyone told you it was a mistake, you doubled down even though it seems clear you don't want to be married to me." And Adam basically agreed. And honestly, everyone had tried to tell both of them that this was a bad idea. We really tried. But they were having none of it. They just thought that relationship milestones, moving in together, engagement, marriage, and puppies, would be good band-aids for their problems. So Sarah moved back to her home state to live with her parents. Their families are livid, their bridal parties and wedding guests are upset too. Obviously, none of the wedding gifts were returned. It sucks, and I'm sad for them because breakups and divorces aren't fun. But I'm sure it'll be better for both of them in the long run. I had a short text conversation with Adam, and he seems as okay as can be expected. It seems like my question of whether they should be invited to my fiancé's and my wedding has worked itself out. Thanks again for all of the advice, even though I didn't get to actually use any of it.